Today, I'm gonna show you guys how to make coconut rice pudding. I thought about not shooting a recipe video for this because it's almost laughable how simple it is, but I also feel like everyone deserves to know how easy it is to make rice pudding and how high reward it is. I grew up eating rice pudding, the kind that was like, you know, packed in like a little clamshell. My dad used to get it at the Italian market and it always had cinnamon on it and it was like always a treat when it was in the fridge. And it wasn't until like 2 weeks ago that I thought about rice pudding since my childhood. So the last time I thought about rice pudding was I was probably 8 years old. And then for some reason it popped into my head again recently and I was like, oh my God, rice pudding. So I set out to develop my own. And I wasn't gonna put cinnamon on it because boring, and you're not here for boring recipes. So instead of a classic Italian arborio rice pudding like I grew up on, this version is flavored with fresh ginger, coconut milk, and coconut oil, and then it gets finished with salty roasted peanuts, mango, and tahini. So it's a far cry from what I grew up on, but it is extremely delicious and takes 5 seconds, plus 20 minutes of cooking. Okay, so step one, put everything in a pot. That's the only step of the recipe. Like I said, simplest recipe ever to exist. It's almost silly that I'm gonna show you what to do here, but here we are. Everyone needs to know how to make rice pudding. 4 cups of whole milk. I've had some comments asking me whether you can use plant-based milk. I haven't tested it with plant-based milk, but I would imagine that like an oat milk or a coconut milk in place of the full dairy milk would be great. If you've done it, leave a comment and let the rest of the world know. We have arborio rice or sushi rice. They're very similar to short grain white rice. This is 3/4 cup. I have 1/2 cup of granulated sugar, 2 teaspoons of salt, and then a tablespoon of unrefined coconut oil, 1 whole can of full fat coconut milk, and then ginger. So this is like a 4-inch piece of ginger. I'm cutting it into like 1/4-inch thick planks. And ultimately you can fish these out and discard them, so you really don't need to peel them. You just wanna kind of expose the inside flesh of the ginger so that it seasons the coconut milk and gets everything tasting all gingery. So I'm gonna bring it to a simmer and just give everything a stir so that it's evenly distributed, and then we simmer. That's literally it. I did a lot of testing on this very simple recipe. There's a big difference between rice pudding that's been cooked for 18 minutes and rice pudding that's been cooked for 19 minutes and 20 and 21. And I did a lot of rounds, actually Bill did a lot of rounds of testing to determine the proper doneness. And we landed at 20 minutes as like the exact right amount of time for this type of rice with this ratio of liquid to ensure a pudding that is al dente-ish, but not in like a gross, nutty, crunchy way, and also still like creamy enough and suspended in that nice pudding. So as long as you follow this ratio of 3/4 cup of sushi rice to however many cups that was of liquid at 20 minutes of a simmer, you should be golden.
What's the deal with Bill? What's the deal with Bill? Come on.
Sophia notoriously will not let anyone call her by a nickname, and she doesn't like when people call her Soph. I've been trying to figure out what a good nickname for Sophia is. That's my assistant. Yesterday, I just was like, you know what? I'm sick and tired of calling you by your full name. I will now call you Bill. And then this morning I was making coffee and I was across the room and I go, hey Bill, and she goes, she looked right up at me and I was like, I knew that was the right name for her. I think it's a really cute name for you, Sophia. There's not really much that you can do right now. You kind of have to stay pegged to the pot because if you walk away at this crucial moment where it comes to a simmer, then you don't start the timer properly at 20 minutes. That's a bummer for your rice pudding. So stay and watch. Here comes the sim. It's a gentle simmer. Do you see that? Like little burble bubbles. That's the kind of simmer we're looking for. Do you see this like gentle burble moment happening? It's not like a rip-roaring boil. That's what you're looking to maintain for all 20 minutes. I said there was only 1 step to this recipe. There are 2 steps to this recipe. The second step is chop the garnishes. I have roasted salted peanuts here. You can use whatever nuts that you want. So I think that peanuts go really well with coconut and ginger. In fact, I know they do because I've had this before. It's wintertime here in LA, which means it's tropical fruit season. Not that I don't think these are coming from LA, but it's tropical fruit season in the world. And you can get really good mangoes and pineapples right now. And since we can't get good stone fruit or berries. We're using mango. This is like a tropical vibe anyway. Just like a nice sweet fruit moment. This is how I do a mango, but there's probably a better way. But I scoop it out of its skin and then I turn it upside down and I slice it. And that way it stays like you can fan it out nicely. I think you should stir this pot every 3 minutes. So that'll be 6 times throughout its cook. So that's the consistency that it is once it's cooked. It's been 20 minutes, the timer just went off. Important that you turn the heat off immediately. And I'm gonna show you exactly what the consistency is, and it's gonna look way too loose. And you're gonna be like, that's never gonna set up into pudding, something's wrong. But I guarantee you that by the time this cools, it'll be properly suspended and creamy. But look at how much like loose liquid there is. This doesn't look like pudding yet. And part of what's gonna happen is that as it cools, the rice is gonna continue to swell and absorb the rest of the liquid, and that's why it's gonna set into a pudding. So now I'm gonna transfer it to some kind of like a 2-quart little baking dish situation. You can pluck out the ginger at this point, so just like fish around for it, because it's kind of unpleasant to bite into a whole piece of ginger. It's not like that soft. So this is what it's gonna look like. And now we're gonna go into the fridge to chill until it's like cool room temperature, ideally overnight, but you could probably cool it in like 4 hours. And before it goes in the fridge, you're gonna cover the surface with a little bit of plastic wrap, and that way it doesn't get a weird scudgy film on it as it cools. So just lay it like right in so that it touches the surface of the pudding. And then we go into the fridge, and I have a version that I made yesterday that I'm gonna bring out now so you can see. Okay, so here's the big reveal. So I'm taking this off now, and check this out. It's no longer loosey-goosey, it's custardy-wustardy, and it's set. And we're just gonna top it and eat it. So now that it's cool, I'm gonna take my mango and just kind of like fan it out to garnish the pudding. And this is like if you were to be serving it family style kind of. And then roasted salted peanuts for salty crunch. And then tahini, which is a Mexican seasoning blend that's like a little bit spicy and very bright and limey and citric acidy. And it's so good on mango. And that's that good pud. Okay, look at this beautiful consistency. That's pudding. It's just kind of magical the way it kind of sets up. Oh my God, so good. It's cold and it's creamy, and it's like lightly scented with ginger. It has a real nice salt content. It's a perfect pud.